making art is somewhat visually aware. So whether influences are coming from like a narrow area of like just pure comics, or like maybe it's comics and a mix of comics and computer games, or anime and comics, or that's going to feed into different people. Or whether it's someone who's like hugely into like weird internet culture, like, you know, that can, you know, there's just so much out there for people to take a mix from. So I think we're probably living in a time where like there is a kind of embarrassment of riches of amount of stuff that's available to people to take influence from. Like even someone like myself who wouldn't be like, I wouldn't have a huge knowledge of manga, but I've started following a bunch of Tumblr blogs that blog like lots of old manga from the 70s and 80s. So like I can kind of like, I can have a feed of this stuff here.
The glory days of the internet. Before Tumblr. Tumblr is an evil place and I will never go there. Yeah. Oh no, Tumblr's come to get me. Hashtag oh no.
Tumblr Nation.
Yeah.
It's like actively attacking people.
Well, it's the internet stereotypes, the neck beard, and then the fake geek girl, and then the like scumbag cosplayer kind of thing, and it is then the like attendee who's just there to perv on cosplayers, and these are all just stereotypes. They do exist, but like not to the scale that people think.
People shouldn't stereotype, but they do. I know Facebook's kind of like what everyone does now or whatever, but it's like events on Facebook is I've found a few new kind of like, oh, what's that? True event pages on Facebook.
The internet is amazing for indie artists like myself who doesn't have a big company behind me to do all the promoting, or I don't have like a big load of cash to spend on promoting. I can just make a free Facebook page and be like, hey, I made this thing, go look at it.
We live in a very visual society. We live in a society with internet and social media where everything is very immediate. It's right there. It's straightforward. You have the information disseminated in 2 or 3 seconds, and the graphic novel medium allowed us to do that.
Your art can spread anywhere nowadays. Like whereas before, if you created a piece of artwork, like you might have been lucky if someone outside of your town actually ever saw it. Like if it got up in an exhibition or something, and someone came across it there, and then maybe it might have been reprinted in some publication, and that would be the only way it could spread around. And then someone might see it in the library.
Like I felt like making a webcomic would give me a much wider audience, because space is something I just really want to do, but it's also something I really want to grab more attention from people to really promote myself as a comic artist and a storyteller. And making it as a webcomic, I feel would reach just way more people than selling it within Ireland.
For me, I see the graphic novel and the printed comic as the cinematic release, and then I see the digital comic that people read in iPads and the phones on so forth as the home distribution of it.
I think film will always have an effect on comics and graphic novels, because they're both storytelling mediums that use visuals. So whether you're using drawing or whether you're using live action, you know, there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of staging. There's a lot of like clear storytelling that applies to both. I do think you're seeing more comics that are maybe being conceived of as maybe a pitch for a film or a television series, and maybe structurally, maybe the stories are kind of are being constructed in such a way. Maybe that's affected them.
Like if I do go into other medium, like there's definitely opportunities for me to like go into film and things like that, but from the storyteller illustrator point of view, not getting a camera and going filming something.
I mean, there's loads of cartoonists in the States that work in animation as well, that will work on shows like Adventure Time and things like that, and you'll see the influence of the design of these cartoons in their comics. I think we're living in a great time where there's like this huge cultural cross-pollination possible.
There's a Bruce Timm animated movie coming out called
That's it.
Of Gods and Monsters.
And they're doing these
And
little
shorts.
tidbits and stuff. So shorts and stuff that come out, you kind of go, who's that? And I will look up that character then and be kind of like, okay, I like this person. So I'll read more up on that person and get kind of into that. It's like from Green Lantern, I was like, what other lanterns is there? And I started looking at all the other lanterns, and then from then on, I'm like, okay, I really like these guys, and these guys. Let's have a look at their characters. And then I would start reading it and watching things with them in it and that sort of thing.
My appeal was they were so visual, so expressive, and they were reinventing things, whether it was formats, the way they used paper. It came out of a time as well where you had desktop publishing and experimentation, and I mean, you look at something like Dave McKean and what he did for Photoshop, or they were so visual and so immediate and presenting really good literature.
The real rise in the quality of digital printers means that for a very small publisher like Cardboard Press, we can do a small run of comics or books. We can do at a quite reasonable price. We can do 100 copies or 200 copies of something digitally, and it's still really good quality.
We're always looking for new ideas. It's a company that always embraces, new ideas, new ways of looking at things. New media that can be associated with graphic novels. I mean, the great thing as well about sequential narrative is you can do it online. You can publish what you do online. You can relate it to an app that has moving parts or leads to somewhere else. So in terms of the future is very exciting, I think. I think they take a lot of work, but I think when you hit it upon the right one and get something interesting, the future knows no bounds.